Hello and welcome to this video, and we're going to try and get a 10-minute game with the black pieces to continue our work on black openings. So we've got a rating of 1730, but it's still a provisional rating, I believe. And here's our game. Yeah, we've still got that question mark here. So we're playing GB71 1642, so should be roughly similarly matched. Okay, so c5, we can play e5, or we can try and get into a kind of King's Indian. Let's try and get into a kind of King's Indian type setup if we can. So in response to d4, we can play g6. I'm still going to go for this fianchetto system, see what kind of exact position we get. Okay, so we're getting bishops opposite each other. I think knight e4 might be possible, so I'm going to get castle to prevent knight e4 with the knight being pinned. So now knight e4 is not possible, so we'll go with d6. And we're going to push for e5. So now we're getting something more similar to King's Indian, but just with this bishop on b2. Bishop on b2 isn't protected, so there may be some tactical considerations, let's say. Get queen here. Queen here is interesting because with c5 hitting into the center, d takes c5 answered knight takes c5 with tempo. Also e5 with the same idea. E5, d takes, knight takes. Yeah, okay, so this is nothing too special. But I think this does look okay actually, this hit out. Because I don't think... Yeah, so knight here, forking, and we get some trades done. So I think this is quite good for me. So we'll pre-move the recapture of the knight. And if queen moves, then... I mean, you could play something like queen e3 and then pre-move this recapture as well. And we're threatening queen takes d3 because I don't think that pawn structure with this pawn here on d3 held back by the e5 pawn is so great for white. I mean, I guess also rook d1 by white is fine as well. But if rook d1, maybe we can play something like bishop f5 with the tempo and the queen and just cause a lot of trades. I mean, I think black's development's better than white's development, so we'll just see what happens here. And I'm not sure this is that ambitious for black either, but black's position looks decent. Let's see what white decides to do here. Maybe we'll take that pre-move off. We don't need to think. Don't need to be pre-moving in a 10-minute game. Well, let's think of what white's other options are. He could play something like queen c2. Yeah, okay, getting castled is good. So I'm going to just continue with this structure. I mean, let's just look at... If e4 an answer to bishop, then we can take on d3. Yeah, I think this is fine. I'm not sure. I think e4 might fail. Yeah, I think this might fail. Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe queen d3 now? Is queen d3? Queen d3, bishop d3. Otherwise, if rook takes d3, we take on e4. What happens if bishop takes e4? I guess knight takes e4. Maybe this does work actually. Does bishop takes e4 work? Bishop takes e4, queen takes is not possible because then we would take on e1 with check. So you'd have to play after bishop takes e4, you have to play knight takes c4. Then you have knight takes f6 as an intermediate move with check. So bishop takes e4, knight takes e4. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Bishop takes, knight takes. Queen takes here. Knight takes knight with check. Bishop takes knight and rook takes. And I think that's good for you. So let's try rook takes d3. Excuse me, queen takes d3. Then bishop takes is forced, otherwise... but this definitely is losing material, so I think that's the mistake then. Do we want to play bishop takes or knight takes? Knight takes threatens the c2 pawn, the f2 pawn, the fork rather. So I think black's won a pawn here. I think that was just an auto recapture. Bishop takes d3 was what white needed to play to protect the e pawn. So I think black emerges a pawn up here. Something like knight takes e4, bishop takes. Maybe black has bishop. Maybe white has rook e3, but rook e3 I think gets pinned with bush. Yeah, doesn't this run into the pin though on bishop h6? How do we stop that? I don't think we can stop that. You can play f4. That doesn't help though. So bishop h6, pinning the rook. I think that's all she wrote. You can play something like king b1, and we'll capture on e3, and then white has a pawn on the exchange. Excuse me, black has the pawn on the exchange. I don't think f4 does anything. So I think we just take this with check and then look after c7. And we don't actually have to take this immediately. So just consider whether there's anything else first. I mean, we could play c6 now. I mean, arguably c6, but I mean, we're not really in any hurry. I guess c6 here, the king moves. I'm going to play c6 first. I think we don't have to be in a hurry. Oh, hang on. Now f4. Now f4. Ah, this is a big mistake. Just f4 now by white. So this is a serious mistake. f4 by white with the bishop protected. Maybe. Oof, yeah, what a mistake. And okay, so he didn't see this, but actually after bishop takes e5 here, I felt like this pin was just on permanent. He can actually now block this pin. So anyway, fortunately he didn't see it. So let's grab this rook now that we can. And after f takes c3, we have tempo to make the bishop move. Do we want to make the bishop move? Do we need to? Something like rook d8. Rook d8 to get in looks good as well. So with the exchange up, but not a pawn up anymore. But yeah, I mean, rook d2 is a fairly nasty threat, I would have thought. So can you stop that? You can play bishop c3. Bishop c3, maybe bishop d3, or maybe just rook d1. Actually, that could be nice. Rook d1 to pin the bishop f1. c5, what's that about? Not sure, but I think we go with this check now. We have c2 as a backup square for a rook. For example, if king c1, we could play rook c2 check, win the c5 pawn. That's fine, that's reasonable. Although we have to be a little bit careful there actually, because in that line, well, see now very tempting to play bishop b1 and take a2 with check. I mean, there are some mating ideas actually. a5 is a5. So yeah, this feels like a good line. Let's go with that now. Is there any way to protect that? Doesn't really look like it. So bishop b1, rook takes a2 check, and then following up with a5 check. Looks nice. Don't think we have anything. Maybe we can play something like bishop here, bishop d3 check, rook takes a2 check, king b4, and then bishop takes d3, winning for black. What else? King b4 is also possible, just to get out of the check. That might be sensible. Okay, oh, that's a nice move. Didn't see that move. Very nice move. Okay, so something like rook d1 now to pin the f1 bishop. There's no checks here. and now threatening rook bishop d3 to win the f1 bishop. So nice defensive resource that. Okay, so h4, but I think this is going to be good now, isn't it? Isn't this just winning now? At least winning a piece. Am I wrong? I think he wanted to play something instead of h4, maybe g3, and then he can answer bishop d3 with bishop g2, breaking the pin and protecting the rook at the same time. I think he's losing the f1 bishop now, or at least losing the exchange after bishop takes d3. It's hard to suggest a move now, really. So the threat is rook takes f1. I think there's no checks, so I think white just has to decide whether to play. Yeah, I mean we want to take the rook in the corner. I think. I mean rook takes d3 is also good, but we may as well take a whole rook. Why not? h5 will be answered by rook takes h5. So g3 to protect the h4 pawn, and he's resigned. Yeah, okay. Alright, we'll just pause there for a moment. Okay, so we'll just have a quick review of this opening. So we had knight c3 here, so g6 is the main move, so that's good, we found that one. White responded b3, which is obviously a very unusual move. Bishop g7 seems to be the most common move, which is what we played, so that's again nice. Bishop b2 for white. And we've got some games played in this line. Castle seems to be the correct move, 7 games of that, so it's again good. My idea was if we play something like d6 now, I think this move may be good because we can't really take this. I mean, it's not losing maybe, but it's pretty awkward. We don't want to be playing that as black. So castles then for black, and then now the main move, something like g3 seems to be the most popular move here. Knight f3. We're maybe getting back into more mainline now. d6. Yeah, okay, so black played d6, so that's good. g3 from white with the double fianchetto. Instead, white played d4. Again, seems to be getting back into some theory here. Knight bd7. Again, nice to find the right move there. e3, the main move for white here, but queen d3. That looks not quite right, that move. So this is the, let's say, where white diverts and we get completely off the path here. I mean, it's okay, but I feel like it makes the queen a little bit vulnerable, potentially puts this queen on the square where this bishop wants to go to. I mean, it just certainly prepares quick queenside castling, which is obviously white's idea, but I'm not convinced that this is the best move. So what do we actually play here? We just try to break immediately. The d takes, and we had this knight takes, forcing exchanges. And I think here, I mean, if we just switch the analysis on here, I mean, I don't think black can be better, but I definitely think black's fine. Its development slightly better. Yeah, I mean, the computer's saying it's sort of roughly equal here. Wants to just play e4. What's actually played? Castles. Yeah, okay, so seems to be that black's slightly better here. The queen takes. Oh, that's interesting. That gives up the advantage of bishop f5 move. So we want to just go for an immediate exchange. Rook takes d3. Oh, knight g4 is nice, hitting the f2 pawn. It's a bit awkward to defend. So rook f3, and then playing f5. Lots of space and activity for black. So black better here. Okay, that's interesting. Bishop f5 gives away the advantage because it runs into e4, which is what white played. And then, actually, we should be playing bishop e6. We played queen d3, and then white needs to play bishop takes d3 to protect the e4, but he blundered with rook takes. And after this, you can see its evaluation is really going up for black, because not only are we getting the pawn, but we're also sort of breaking through. But it likes bishop takes better. Bishop takes, why is that better? I mean, it's more forcing because it attacks the rook. Yeah, I mean, bishop takes here. I mean, could you not just play rook somewhere? Rook e3. What happens if rook e3? Then the immediate pin. Yes, the same pin that we had in the game. So something like rook d1. Then this check. Ah, okay. And this is very bad. I mean, white's nearly getting mated. There's no squares. So you pretty much have to take this bishop off. Then knight in with this idea of f2 being weak. And then you want to get on the d file. Bishop d3. Wants to play knight c5. The bishop moves. I mean, I think black's better here, but I don't know. It's saying he's nearly 2 pawns better here. Okay, rook here. Exchanges on b2. And then we're getting our rook in here. Okay, so this is pretty nasty for white. It's probably winning. Okay, so we took knight takes c4, knight takes c4, and then what do we have? We had this move here, which again runs into the pin. So I think anything else, rook d1 is probably rook d1 still. There's this problem with this bishop h6 check, so get this, and we have the check here, and you're still having to block this check, so you're still losing the exchange. So it's actually a little bit awkward here. Maybe there's no way to do this. I mean, it wants to play rook h3 to cover the h6 square. So h5 in order to then play, in order to have this move there. So bishop c2 in order to answer bishop h6 with bishop d2. Bishop f5 hits the rook goes to f3, rook d1. I mean, white's under some serious pressure here. It's worth a couple of pawns, plus the extra pawn, so yeah, not too nice for white. Okay, alright. So as played, we had this pin here, and then the only other kind of key moment in the game was bishop takes e5. Now I need to take this exchange now, because actually this covers the f4 square, so I was thinking I have time here to play c6 and just carry on, and this pin can't be broken, but I think actually now c6 is really quite bad. Yeah, so now suddenly f4 breaking the pin, see the evaluation change, and yeah, white is getting back into the game here. I mean, black is still better here because this is all a little bit awkward for him, but still no big material win, so bit of a mistake there. Fortunately he missed it, and so we got the exchange and then won fairly quickly after that. Okay, thanks for watching.